Hey, okay, so just popping in from editing, obviously. I just want to preface this by saying that I was not in a good headspace when this was filmed. I was really going through some stuff, so my reaction really kind of reflects that. There was a lot that I was really frustrated with in this episode based off of things in my own life, which I get into a little bit and I might do a little further clarification on. But yeah, I just want to warn you about that because I feel like people are going to be mad at me. So it's okay. I still love the show. This was just not a great time or episode for me. But I hope you still enjoy. Don't hate me. I'm sorry. Okay, so it's been a while, but we are back with In With an E Season 3, Episode 2. This is my look for today. I did some fishtail braids. Actually, I didn't mean to, but this, half-up swoop thing is giving very Miss Stacy. Happy coincidence. And yeah, just a kind of floral, I don't know, I think it's pretty. I don't know that it's, I would see anything like it in With an E, but, just go with it. Just go with it. That's my look for today. It's been a long time since I watched the last episode. I had been struggling with mental issues. And so I just remember really loving it. I remember being like, period, about everything that was happening. And I think I cried multiple times. I mean, surprise, surprise. But yeah, no, I loved it. I love the start. I love where we're going. I see why people are, talking about Season 3. Again, the reason that I keep doing these is comments, so if you like these, if you enjoy these, comment down below. Comment your favorite part of the episode, of the reaction. Also, if you're inclined, I'm so interested because I, obviously watch this footage a lot, me editing back my And With an E reactions, and I'm always, looking at the looks that I chose, and I'm like, that one's not good, or, this one's good. So if you're so inclined, let me know what your favorite look has been, from my reactions to And With an E. But if you would like unedited watch-along versions of And With E, my Patreon will be linked in the description down below. And you can watch the episodes along with me if that is your cup of tea. If not, just comment, like, subscribe, the whole vibe. And yeah, we'll get started with And With an E Season 3, Episode 2.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Stay close to Gilbert at all times.
I forgot that Gilbert was going. Yeah, that's right. She's going to, search for her family, right?
Marilla, you are how you present yourself. An urchin, heaven knows what danger you'll attract.
Gilbert is eating it up, as am I.
And need I remind you that I am a veteran voyager.
Matthew, give her. Before you know, she's weakened and face down in a ditch.
Marilla. That's a jump. It's a bit of a jump.
Thank you for agreeing to chaperone. I go every Saturday. It's no trouble.
I don't know.
I love seeing Anne being fussed over like that. I love seeing. Oh my god! Marilla is the cutest person on planet Earth, and I love her so much. And mommy. I want her to be my mother. She's mother, but I want her to be my mother. But I'm like, girl, you're leaving them two alone on a train?
Marilla, I don't mind being your escort.
Well, I mind. I can fend for myself. Do you even know what my quest is? I'm on a deeply meaningful personal journey, and I certainly don't mean to.
Anne!
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's fine.
I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy. If this keeps happening, yikes.
Not of your incessant chatter ringing in my ears.
Matthew and incessant chatter have never been in the same sentence once.
Aren't seasons a gift? There's such hope in the emergence of a new one.
He's getting deja vu. He's like, this is my first ride with Anne, all over again.
She calls me a kindred spirit.
I can, yes.
I've lived...
I can see that. I was wondering what the reaction was gonna be. Seemed like there was maybe a little strife.
Good Lord, Mom, you trying to kill me?
Oh, good Lord, it's right.
This show can't not make me cry.
It's too good to bring me this beautiful boy on this beautiful day.
Y'all still look the same age, but you know what? The performances, I can buy it. I can buy it, Queen. She's giving mother.
When are you all soft with a heart that could break? Since always, with you. handsome as they make them. You just need a good meal in you. You still like my chicken soup?
You know who's asking? I figured it was time to check up on you, see how you're faring with this tyrant.
Doing my best. I'm open to pointers.
She gets vicious.
In truth, she turns into a right toddler, storming around in a way that doesn't even know why.
That's not true.
It is. Oh, you got you pegged.
Oh, I'd love to see this bonding. It's laced with an undercurrent of, you know, tension and strife, but so I'm like,
Quite the homestead you have here.
but it's sweet.
Don't move.
Mm.
We tried to get you word, but you're a hard man to write a letter to.
Oh, he didn't know. Oh, yikes.
This is who I was telling you about every day since you came into this world. You don't want to hold her?
Hey, no. I'm filthy from travel.
I
Wouldn't
knew
wanna
it
dirty
was
up
gonna
the
be.
shiny new child.
Ooh. And I get him, too. I really do understand where he's coming from. So much... So it's so complicated, all the feelings that go along with that. Jealousy, resentment, grief. There's just... It's really a lot.
See you at the...
No!
I've missed you so much.
I'm happy to see you, Cole. This is very sweet and very cute, and I love y'all. And bestie boos, and absolutely. And I'm glad you're back. But I'm not happy about what's happening with Ann and Gilbert.
Long to
my
get
God.
out of the house. I'm ancient and
Full
I run
spit.
circles around him.
Everything. Wow.
Patience in your
Wow.
100 years.
He looks so good. I love this for him. I could cry. Me at literally anything and everything that happens in the show. I could cry.
No matter what you learn, good, bad, or indifferent, know that you are so much just as you are right now.
So true. Joe. Why? These are the best people on the planet. Like, I don't... It's really just too much.
Well, I don't know what kind of girl you think I am, but you've just bought yourself a date with my father and his shotgun.
I would like to make a joke, but it's literally me.
And isn't
I
it
can't.
just
I would be the
quite
most
a
hypocritical. Okay,
I should
I'm so sorry. Gilbert's eyebrows are out of control in this season so far.
An invitation to tea.
Sure. Sure. Is this what it's going to take for Anne to, you know, realize and admit her feelings? Then let's go. I think because I know it's the last season, I just feel downtrodden and I feel despair at the fact that, like, I'm like, we're spending the last season, like, doing this, like, still, like, please, can I just have more of them together?
All I did was mention once that I miss companionship, and I do, but not more than I like my life, as is.
You can still have a lot of that even with a romance, though, to be fair.
I suppose love can storm in, and then make a mess of everything that you have in place. You know, in
That's a great
your
point.
life.
I just can't with how much Cole is serving. He's serving looks. Absolutely. These are the clothes you were made to be in, King.
Because it's not real. You can't play if you keep doing it wrong.
I was guessing they were going to do this, but the way that they're doing it is interesting, having them be in the same scene rather than just a flashback.
Is it horrible here?
It's an orphanage. Worse than some. Better than others, I'm sure.
That's a good outlook.
When they're older, you want them back, or should I tell them you're dead?
Dead.
Ooh. Yikes.
Papa!
I can't take care of you. I can't keep you. Go on.
Papa!
But I wonder if she's going to start to think that maybe they lied about her parents being dead.
Did you used to talk a lot? Talked yourself clean out of words. Why come to me?
Might you have documentation on me?
If your folks dumped you off here, we've nothing that says anything about it.
They didn't dump me off. They died of fever.
If you say so. But we've nothing.
This is a little heavy for me right now, if I'm honest.
Says Cordelia, with raven hair that had once been the color of carrots, laughed as she escaped through the haunted woods. Only you...
It's so stupid! I spent my life here in full lunatic imagination. And now I don't know what's real. What if my parents aren't dead? What if they just dumped me here because they just didn't want me? I can't remember who told me they loved me. What if
It saved you. That you used your imagination.
I was gonna say, like, in the discussion, I was gonna be like, that's actually what made you survive.
You're amazing because of your experiences. It's given you such empathy and the widest mind of anyone I know.
Trauma will do that.
And selfishly,
Trauma will give you empathy and a wide mind. Speaking from experience.
because you were able to understand and accept me. That saved my life.
Great job, Cole.
But you're still garbage on the inside, aren't you?
Okay.
I'm sorry you're still here.
I knew she was gonna say that.
I'm not still here. I get paid.
Again, me and Anne. But it is, you know, it is rough, even though it's like, you know, shouldn't bully other people. I do feel for that girl as well.
I think it's good to bring it into daylight and realize nightmares aren't so scary without the protections of the dark. But it's not enough. But I wish it was. I wish all you had said in the tower was enough, but it's not. I need to know if I was loved.
Churches keep those kinds of records, don't they? We get turned right back around when we die.
Cole is serving this season. He's serving
It's
charisma,
late,
uniqueness, Derva talent.
But I will, and I'll find them. It is the last thing I do.
I don't know, guys. There's a lot in this episode that I'm, like, struggling with.
I was wondering what you thought of the sermon last given at whichever church you attend.
I especially enjoyed the part about those of us destined to burn in hell. Did you enjoy that bit?
What is happening this episode? I don't understand.
Oh!
Sorry, I thought...
The best part of knowing the rules is finding acceptable ways of breaking them.
I kind of live for that. I mean, I don't, like, generally speaking,
You have
for them too, but for her, absolutely. Love that for you.
Our mother's supposed to have a magic touch. What do you got to cry about anyhow? You got everything. Am I disrupting things, Mother? Your sparkly white new light? I see how it is. It's the do-over. Wouldn't want your new baby
Yeah, I knew.
corrupted by
That
the
was
one
what he
that
was
came out
thinking.
ruined.
Oh,
Mary.
it's fine. I cut myself is all.
Can't help but swoop in, can you, Papa? Can I call you that?
Might be wanting to take your leave.
Bash. It's all right.
Yeah, Bash. It's all right.
Ugh.
This baby's more than all right. After all, she wanted you. I was just the thing she got stuck with. She was
This whole thing is a mess. This whole episode's a fucking mess.
You must be tired. You have to up a freight. Not to mention coming here, learning your mother has a new baby. It's a lot. I understand.
Do you? You're my friend. You're too soft to go head to head with someone who's lived the life I have.
We all lived lives. I watched my mother raise other people's children. Didn't understand why the only person in the world supposed to love me seemed like she didn't.
Real sad, Papa. But we're grown men, so let's just put all that to rest and get to the point. I don't buy that any more than I buy that Mary loves you. You know you're just a way out, right? Hero. So all no one in the bog will go near
Never
her.
speak ill about your mother again, and you'll find yourself missing a mouth of teeth. She wants you here. You can have family if you want. But don't make your mother choose.
Very complicated conversation, heavy points made on both sides. I agree and I disagree with both of them in different things. It's an absolute mess.
I do happen to have news. And isn't it a miracle to have you greet it with open arms for once? The soil gets stale and unusable.
The soil being me.
And it's a field of cobwebs, basically.
And the field would be.
And just try and jam a seed in there and see what happens. It shrivels and dies, that's what.
Well, we wouldn't want that to happen.
I have to laugh.
I feel such hollowness. And I know it's not going away until I know about my family.
proof that I was loved.
She is so stinking cute.
My heart is broken for the betrayal that he must feel. To see me in a new life, a new family. A child is gonna have it so much better off than him.
You're more forgiving than I could ever be. The way he speaks to you.
He bore the brunt of the shame that was thrust on me.
You bore it too. For something not your fault.
Not his either.
Doesn't matter.
Ooh, that was such a good moment for Mary. I'm so glad to hear that from her.
Nothing.
Oh, yes.
She's a great mom.
We were wondering if you might get used to it. Maybe you and me could use an extra hand. What with all the apples this year? And all?
Yes. And did I mention yes?
I'll deliver the news.
Tell me.
Well, there's a girl. She works at the...
Mary!
He's gone?
I did also have that thought that he was gonna steal stuff.
Gilbert,
I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, this is a rough episode.
Do you like my article?
We trusted you, and this is how you behave. With foolishness, childishness, stupidity, and deceit. Fraternizing with savages?
No, they're not.
And lying. You went into the woods with them. You are a danger to yourself and are forbidden from going anywhere, including Nova Scotia.
Please, why are you doing this?
Because I love you!
Matthew cannot believe what just transpired. I'm fucking depressed at this episode. Okay. I didn't like that episode. Not because I didn't like the episode itself, but I just didn't like the feeling I had with it. The feelings, the conflicting feelings. Every situation is really, like, complex and honestly kind of tragic. And I can understand both sides of it. Like, you have Anne and Marilla, let's say, for example. You understand both sides of the argument and why they're both doing what they're doing. But they're also hurting each other in the process. They don't mean to, but they are. And that's sad to see. And I both agree and disagree with both of them on certain things. All of these topics are just very complicated. Like, there's just a lot. It's not black and white. So it's just really difficult. Yeah, with Mary's son, I feel for him in that. I do. He obviously should not have done what he did, and he didn't, but I felt very, it touched me to hear that Mary felt for him too. Because it's so often and so easily that a parent can get defensive and project things onto their kids and, not understand their own part in certain issues. So to see that she acknowledged that and understood it and felt bad about it it felt good to me. Not seeing her feel bad necessarily, but just that she understands why he's acting the way that he is and is validating that. Because I just didn't, and I completely understand him defending Mary, but there are some instances where I was like, you just don't get it though. You're just not thinking about it from his perspective. And vice versa, the same can be said for the son's relationship with Bash. You're not thinking about it from Bash's perspective. All of them have different perspectives, and all of them are somewhat valid and then somewhat, again, just like, it's just hard. It's just difficult. I just think because it's the last season and I know that, I'm distraught about Gilbert and Anne being this way with each other. Still. I'm like, I just feel like we have so little time that I just want any and all time to be left up to, you know, them growing. I'm sure it'll have an arc. I'm positive they'll end in a happily ever after. Like, I'm not worried about that, but I just, maybe it does also just feel a little repetitive and a little, you know what it is? I think it feels a little bit more strange now that they're older. It's kind of like, okay, come on, are we really still doing that? Like, are we really still doing the, like, I hate you? Like, I'm like, girl, let's be real. Anne's so mean to him a lot of times, and it's like, cause she likes him. And I don't know how she hasn't put that together yet. You know what I mean? And it's actually kind of, it's a little sad and, like, heartbreaking to watch from his perspective, because I think he is much more aware of his feelings for her. And so the fact that she keeps treating him like that and he doesn't, you know or understand that it actually is because she reciprocates the feelings, it's tough to watch. It's tough to watch him get shut down again and again and again and again and again. Like, it's just, but I understand why Anne does it in some ways, especially when it's connected to other things in her life. That makes more sense to me, you know, like stress with her parents or other things that she's dealing with, that she just, on top of the things that she's been dealing with, also is just, like, lashing out at Gilbert. That makes more sense to me than just, like, I guess, on the way up, she just didn't have any reason to actually be mad at Gilbert. So it just felt misplaced anger and was frustrating to see. And then, of course, he's, you know, with that other girl. I don't know where that's going, but, I mean, it's not going, you know, the distance, I know. But I have to say, okay, I feel like I'm gonna get canceled after this. Nobody's gonna want to watch the rest of my reactions. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry if you disagree with me about a lot of this stuff, or you don't like my commentary on this, but the only thing I can do is be honest and, like, tell it how I see it. It's complicated. Like, in a lot of ways, I'm like, oh yes, period, these complex storylines with a lot of layers and all these characters, and they make sense, and, you know, it's excruciating, and it could be just, like, my own headspace, honestly, which it hasn't been great recently, that it just felt very, tiring to me. It just felt very, like, okay, not a single bright spot, and all of this is so fucking complicated and so fucking confusing, and everyone's so conflicted for good reason, and everyone's so hurt, it's just like, God, every storyline was just, like, misunderstanding, miscommunication, lack of knowledge about other people's perspectives, and just pain. I guess it feels a little antithetical to end with an E, because it really didn't feel like there was a bright spot in any of it, and maybe that's, you know, they're trying something new, that's a new change that they're doing. But even when things have been devastating and end with an E, there's kind of something to be said, kind of a thesis statement made, or a theme hit home, or, you know, one part of the episode that's a bright spot, and I just didn't feel any of that in this. And so it brought me down a lot. Like, I was just like, okay. And again, because I understand each person's perspective, it's just, like, my brain's just going a million miles a minute, because I just am trying to think of all the different perspectives. But separate and aside from storyline, Lucas J. Zuman? I don't know how to pronounce his name. I've only seen it written. But the actor for Gilbert, what's happening? I've heard some weird things about his acting in season 3. The eyebrows are out of pocket. They are off the charts. He needs to stop doing that. It's giving me not actually, but, like, I don't like it. I don't like it. He needs to not... It doesn't feel like Gilbert, I guess, is kind of what it is. And it feels very, like, weird. I'm like, okay. Like, put your eyebrows down. Like, you don't need to be doing all of that. Gilbert would never. Not actually. I'm not actually saying that. But it's just something that I've noticed. And that he's done a lot. They really didn't do the other seasons. So it stands out. It sticks out like sore thumb, to be honest. And I'm conflicted. I think it kind of just depends where the storyline goes, but while I understand her want to know that people loved her, that, you know, she was loved, I still feel like it's a short-sighted and kind of naive way of looking at everything, of looking at life. And of course, I don't have that exact experience, right? So I'm not trying to say that it's not accurate or that it's not valid, because I'm sure that that is searching for your identity and wanting to know that your parents loved you and, you know, all that type of stuff with adoption storylines. I'm sure that is a thing. So I'm not trying to dismiss or invalidate that. But at the same time, her saying she needs to know that her parents loved her. Well, what if they didn't? What then? And, you know, like, it's just, I don't know, I guess it feels immature. And, you know, I can see, like, frustration on the other side, like Marilla, because it's just, she needs to learn that it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't. Whether her parents loved her or not, like, it does not matter. It doesn't actually say anything about her actual worth. Like, she needs to not be attaching her worth and her identity and her love for herself and the love that she receives from people in her life currently to whether or not her parents loved her. You can't do that. And I get the impulse, I get the desire, but again, her saying, I need to know they love me, I need to know XYZ, it's just like, you actually don't, though. You don't. And what if you hear something that you don't like? What then? Like, it's just, she's not, again, it just feels like very, like, I guess, closed-minded, one-track mind type of mindset, which is frustrating to me, because again, I think it's so much more powerful, and I hope this is where they're going with it, but I think it's so much more powerful to tell a story about, again, chosen family, found family, and loving yourself above all else, separate and aside from whatever people in the world and even those people being parents do to you. There are, I mean, I could get into a whole thing, but the experience of feeling like your parents don't love you, or your parents treating you badly, or abandoning you, or abusing you, or any of that stuff, it just has nothing to do with you. Okay, well, the camera went off, but maybe I'll just keep talking for a second. So maybe I'm projecting a little bit because this is just something that I have known and experienced in my life, and it's something that I inherently knew and felt very disconnected from when people would express this sentiment of, like, you know, why wasn't I good enough? Why couldn't my parent be better for me? Like, my parent didn't love me enough to get over this, or, you know, XYZ. And to me, again, I just had a very innate, inherent understanding that that had nothing to do with me. And I always couldn't quite understand why so many people thought it did. You know, why they thought it was their fault, or that, you know, their parents should have been able to do it if they loved them. Like, I mean, I do get it, logically speaking, but to me, it just rang so false and so irrelevant to me that I was just like, okay. And so you need to be able to love yourself regardless of the way that your parents treat you. That is imperative. No matter what they do, you need to love yourself. And you need to believe in yourself. And I hope that's where it's, like, going. That she doesn't get everything tied up in a bow and it's all, like, cookie cutter answers and, you know, everything's T's are crossed and I's are dotted. Like, I just feel like there's a much more profound message that they're not addressing right now. And what's important is Matthew and Marilla and the life that she has then. Of course, her identity is important. I'm not trying to say that the impulses that she has aren't valid. But again, I just think it's much more complicated than that. I just think it's so much more than that. And she's just not really able to see that right now. I could go on. I honestly can't, though. I'm not in a space to keep talking about this, to be honest. So, like, comment, subscribe, comment, your thoughts. This is, I'm sure, gonna cause a lot of discourse, and a lot of people are gonna be mad at me. I am sorry. I just am, coming from where I'm coming from and being honest. And again, I want to make it clear, like, it's not that I don't understand the merit of a lot of these storylines, or that I don't appreciate them, or that I don't understand or agree with, identity being important, or, like, I understand why every character's doing what they're doing. I just don't, it's just not that pleasant for me to watch. And again, that could be my own issue. Sorry about that. But I actually talked about a lot more than I thought I had, so I only have a few things to add, I guess, or, like, expand on. I think the thing that I was most consistently bothered by in this episode, and you can see in the reaction, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna try, like, that hard on editing this. I need this episode out, I need it done with. So this will not be the best edited video you've ever seen. Sorry. I'm not in the headspace to do that either. But you can see just by my facial reaction, a lot of times I'm just, like, staring into space, or just have a dead glare, or am, like, going like this, or, like, rolling my eyes. And yeah, a lot of frustration with Anne this episode. Again, not because of the impulses itself, but I think also because I identify with it in a lot of ways. This is a phenomenon that, like, I have had to be intimately acquainted with. Not in the exact same way, obviously, it's not the same situation, but coming to terms with the fact that your parents maybe aren't who you thought they were, or are never going to be who you hoped they would, and accepting that and moving on from that and learning how to live with that is so hard. And I get that. I have gone through that. Like, there have been moments in my life where I too said things like, I just need this. Like, and I was sure of it. I was like, my parent needs to do XYZ, or needs to change this way, or else I'm not going to be able to survive. And that's for real. Like, I was suicidal. Like, it was like, I need this to be this way, or I need this person to change. And it's more recently that I have let go of that, and have had to do a lot of hard work to let go of that. And so I think I'm coming from it, like, on the other side of the war, and, like, looking at it like, girl, give it up, give it a rest. Like, and I'm almost talking to my old self. Like, it's just not, your parents are not always who you want them to be. They're not always going to change. Sometimes they treat you badly. Sometimes they don't love you. Sometimes they love you and they don't express it in a healthy way. Sometimes they're incapable of loving you in a way that is obvious or healthy or beneficial for anyone. And that just, it just is what it is. So whether or not, like, Anne's parents loved her, though it can feel so relevant, it just actually isn't. Because the thing is, it's like, what's the alternative? Kill yourself? I mean, that's like, at least in my situation, where it kind of ends up. Bottom line, it's like the end of it, it's like you reach this point and it's like, okay, well, either I accept that this is the way that it is and learn how to deal with that and cope with that, or I die. And it's just one of those things. It's a really, really, really hard life lesson. It took me a really long time to learn. I'm not trying to judge Anne for all of that. Maybe I more so am, like, frustrated with the show, because I just feel like, again, the more powerful narrative is to show, and I'm maybe speaking too soon, because, like, I don't know, they could be going this way with it, where it's like, Anne doesn't find anything out about her parents, or finds out bad things about her parents, but learns to live with it, and learns to be grateful for Matthew and Marilla. It could totally be going that way, and I hope it is, if they're gonna go down this road, but it's just, yeah, it's a really unfortunate thing, but I just, speaking from very, very personal experience, your parents not being capable of loving you, or not loving you properly, not treating you properly, not being capable of change, is very painful and very difficult. But it just is what it is. It says nothing about you and who you are as a person. And yeah, it's just, the whole thing's a lot more complicated, I think, than I was like saying. And I think, again, like, I have more emotions wrapped up in it from a personal standpoint, and also the things that were going on during this time when I was filming it. So it's just like complicated and messy. But I just want Anne to learn to be okay with that. I just want Anne to not need to know that. Because some people have to. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to survive regardless. You have to, like, and it's, again, like, I get it. Like, having especially both your parents, I mean, what a life to have both parents be incapable or defective or abusive or abandoning. Like, what a truly devastating thing. The two people in the world that are supposed to love you, you know, then they don't. What then? But what then? It's just like, you just keep going. Like, you just go. It's not an end-all be-all. It makes things difficult. It's something you have to deal with. It's something that you have issues from, for sure. But it can't be the end. It can't be the end of your life. I also wanted to put out on the edit, I think I noticed this, you know, the whole speech that Cole gives, very touching, beautiful, period, love it, agree with it. But in that moment, again, I was not in a good headspace mentally. And I want to bring attention to this because it really is such a, like, double-edged sword, and you go back and forth with it, I think. The sentiment that he expresses, where it's like, your trauma made you the best person ever. Like, it gave you so much empathy and a wide mind and things like that. That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And in a lot of ways, it is like, there are things that come from trauma that are like superpowers. You have, like, you are who you are because of it, and you have all these qualities that you wouldn't have otherwise, and you have this strength, and you have this empathy, and you have this experience, and this knowledge and wisdom. Like, there's so many great things that can and do come from it, but I feel it can be very reductive to focus too much on that side of it, because along with all of the good stuff comes a lot of really, really, really negative stuff as well. Like mental illnesses, like dealing with trauma, like disorders, like, I mean, it is a mixed bag. Okay, it is a mixed bag. So I think in that moment, I was more on the negative side of it, really reaping the negative side effects of being traumatized and abused. And those side effects that I was just, like, not in a mood to hear about, like, but your trauma makes you good. And it's good, actually, because it's not all good. There are great things that you can get out of it, but there's also a lot of things that make it really, really hard for you to function as a human being. And again, like, I think both of those can exist at the same time. And it's like two sides of the same coin. And there are a lot of times when I'm very grateful for a lot of the things that have happened to me, but there are also a lot of times where I'm not grateful, and I'm resentful, and I'm devastated by how much trauma I've been through. And I think that's okay too. And I just want to call attention to that, the fact that those two things can coexist, and that there's a lot of good that can be done from being traumatized, and there's also a lot of bad. And it's okay to acknowledge both of those. I also just wanted to say with Sebastian a little bit, you know, like, he's a king, he's a sweet man, he's an angel, we love him, and I completely understand him wanting to defend Mary, but I also, this is something, this just brought up, I really have an issue with people inserting themselves into things that have nothing to do with them, or that they don't really know what they're talking about. So in this instance, obviously, Sebastian didn't ask to be brought into this, and he is a part of it. I'm not saying he has no part of it, or he has no say, or any of this. He's a part of this family now. He's married to Mary. He shares a, sibling with Elijah now. So I'm not saying any of that at all. But I do think that there's a sentiment that has been expressed in real life and in media where it's like, never talk bad about your parent. And I think that is wildly presumptuous. I think that is extremely arrogant and ignorant, because it's like, you don't know what my relationship with my parent is. You don't know what I've gone through. You don't know what my parent has put me through. So the way that I talk about them, or the way that I experience them, or my relationship with them, is completely irrelevant to any type of relationship that you have with them. You can have a good relationship with someone who has a bad relationship with their child, and you shouldn't impose your own good experiences with that person onto their child, because you didn't have to be their child. You didn't have to be in that relationship. You didn't have to experience what they had to experience. So I think it's a very, like, reductive and again, I'm not even, like, directing this directly at Sebastian. It just brought up this point in general, which is just a point I wanted to make about life in general. I think it's like, it's none of your business. You don't know anything about it. You cannot tell me how to speak about my parents, or how to interpret my parents, or how to experience my parents. Like, you're not my parent. You're also not the child in the relationship. A parental-child relationship is so singular and so specific and so complex that anybody trying to simplify it, I just am like, girl, don't do that. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. You don't know anything. And I think Sebastian did a good job of acknowledging that. Also defending his wife, I get his impulse to do that, but it's also like, girl, you don't know what Mary's life was like before this. I mean, she may have told you, but, like, you don't know what it was like for Elijah to have Mary as a mom. And it might not be Mary's fault, but there are things that I think Elijah is entitled to be upset about and to have grief over and to be processing and having difficulty processing after the life that he's experienced with Mary as his mom at that time. And I don't think that it is helpful to invalidate that, or to say, like, get over it, or to be like, don't say that. Like, I just, you know, it's a lot. It's just very complicated. And I think it's a gross simplification to say things like that, to be like, don't talk bad about your mother. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry. Are you my mother's child? Then shut up. I'm sorry. If you're not my mother and father's child, you need to shut the fuck up, okay? You cannot tell me how to do anything when it comes to them. And you shouldn't. It's not your business. And you don't understand. And again, this is not, like, anger at Sebastian. This is just something that, like, the episode brought up that I was like, this pisses me off when people do this. Pisses me off. And I just want to say it. As a traumatized, abused girly. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Comment your thoughts down below about this episode, about this reaction, whatever you want. Again, the Patreon will be linked in the description down below, and I will see you for And With an E, Season 3, Episode 3. Bye!